Hello friends, welcome to the Archer and Olive channel. My name is Elizabeth. You might know me as The Joyful Sojourn on Instagram and YouTube, and I'm an ambassador for Archer and Olive this year, which means I get to create fun projects to hopefully inspire and encourage you to use your things, play with all the things, get creative in your journals and in your planners. And today we're going to be doing just that in this Archer and Olive B5 undated planner. I'm going to be setting up a journaling spread for the week using items from the 2026 self-care box. The older I get and the more busy I become, the more I really appreciate a pre-made planner layout for journaling. That's why I'm grabbing this today, because I like that I can decorate it as much or as little as I want, and I've got a block every day already made for me for journaling the day. My hope is that by the end of this video, you will have learned some fun ways to use stamps and washi tape in your Archer and Olive notebooks and planners, but you also see how you can incorporate journaling prompts into weekly journaling. So let's get into it. I'm going to switch over to VoiceOver Elizabeth and let's see what we come up with. Hi, it's me. The first thing we're going to do is block off areas of the spread that I do not want ink or stamping to fall on. I'm essentially using washi tape like painter's tape. This has created for me some of my most beautiful planner and journaling spreads, and I love this technique for adding color and texture to the page, but keeping it exactly where I want it to go. The 2026 self-care box includes a beautiful ink color in cypress green and a stamp set, so that is really going to be the star of the show today. I am rubbing that buffer brush into the ink, dabbing it off on a piece of paper, and then I'm starting to buff the ink on the page from the washi tape up, trying to create a bit of an ombre look. Dabbing the buffer brush and applying the most concentrated color on the washi tape and then pulling it upwards is going to prevent us from getting actual brush strokes on the page. Next up, I am stamping down the beautiful lined florals from that self-care box's stamp set with black legacy ink. And I haven't decided yet if I want to go back through and use an acrylograph to actually paint in the flowers. But with those larger ones, you could certainly do that and add a little bit more color to the page. And to get the most use out of your stamps, just make sure you vary the height and angles of them. The most satisfying part, you guys, lifting up the washi tape to reveal that the images and the ink color is inside each box. One final touch here, adding the phrase room to grow, also from the self-care stamp set. Now this is where things get fun. The 2026 self-care box includes a spiral bound set of cards with daily prompts and activities. We are going to use the one about strengths today, and I'll touch more on that in a little bit. But first, I thought it would be fun to use the stamp in the stamp set that looks like a spiral notepad. So I stamped it on a piece of notepad paper and I'm kiss cutting it with a craft knife from Archer and Olive. This is going to be such a beautiful color match and little pop of texture in the notes column at the end of the planner. Now I'm adding a nice strong header for the week so I know what my prompt is for my journaling, and it is my strengths. So the daily affirmation card says list 5 affirmations that remind you of your strengths when you need encouragement. I am adapting that into a weekly planner layout where every day I'm going to list one of my strengths. Now here I wanted strengths to be equally spaced out with the letters, so I did intentionally stamp that T right on the seam, and I'm using a paintbrush to fill in the rest of the shape. I love the idea of adapting the prompts in the self-care box to daily journaling, but I could also see this working great in creative listing books. So if you're a creative lister like I am, you can use an Archer and Olive notebook to list out your strengths in one sitting. And here I decided to add what the daily prompt is on that green sheet of paper, which I'll then glue into the page. And for stamping out that header, I did just go through my collection and find as many ink colors that I thought matched this floral washi tape. I think they turned out pretty cool. Now, since I'm going to be commenting on my own strengths this week in the planner, will you write down in the comments section, what is one of your strengths? What is something that you're proud of? Why is it so hard for us to compliment ourselves? Identify one of your strengths and leave it in the comment section, and let's give it a thumbs up and support one another. Now, I've set a pretty good foundation in the spread for the week, but I want to frame things out a little bit more. So I'm taking washi tape from that self-care box. I'm ripping it horizontally to create a nice raw edge, and I am cutting it to size to fit into each days column. I've just found over time with both planners and journals, keeping things tight and fitted to framing and to boundaries really, I don't know, it finishes the spread for me. So while I like things to look torn and scattered and artistic, I also still value a little bit of order, and trimming down those pieces really cleans things up nicely. All right, now it is time to decorative date, and that for me is just adding the days of the week and the dates to the page. And I'm using the ink and type stickers. These are so cool. They have that label maker stamp look, and I wanted to incorporate more black, and this is just hitting the spot perfectly. When it comes to journaling spreads, I really appreciate no white space. This is different than in my planners that are very functional. I do like to have a little bit of white space, but with journaling, I love a filled in page. So I'm taking some of the texture stamps from the self-care box and I'm just adding them throughout the page, going back and forth between the cypress green ink from the box set and the black legacy ink that I have in my collection. And we are done, friends. Here is the final weekly spread, but not quite actually, because the last thing that I need to do is actually write down 7 of my strengths, 1 each day. I know that this looks a bit discombobulated, but I am going to write over the course of the week, and the pictures that are over on the Archer and Olive blog will have what this looks like filled in. So if you want to see what this looks like after the pen, I will be sharing that. I think that is helpful in a spread like this. When you see right now, it looks like this is a lot of empty space, like I missed a spot. That's on purpose. I really try to make sure I have at least half of a day available for writing. And because I took so much space up here, I know I'm going to be doing all of my writing down here. And then same thing with taking the stamps around here, I've got to leave some space up here. So I really am mindful of where I'm going to be writing when I lay decorations down. So when you see an empty spot, just know that this is before the pen, and it will look better after. Our thoughts are always what finishes the spread and makes it look beautiful. So don't forget to use what you have created. I also want to remind you to leave one of your strengths down in the comment section. I would just love for this video to be an uplifting one where we celebrate the beautiful things about who we are. So leave me one of your strengths, and I'm going to try to remember to come over to the Archer and Olive channel and read through them and comment on your strength. So please leave us a strength down below. Check out the Archer and Olive blog that is up now, which will show what this looks like after the pen. If you have any questions, you can leave those down below. And remember, if you want to find me on social media, you can find me at The Joyful Sojourn on Instagram and YouTube. If you decide to pick anything up from Archer and Olive and you'd like to support my platforms, please use the code JOYFUL10. That's going to save you 10% off of everything, subscriptions excluded. All right, friends, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.